Next one here, number 2 for me, for breaking news, is polygamist cult leader's daughter breaks free, says false prophet abused her. The world could see the shame. So who I'm talking about here is Rachel Blackmore. And Rachel Blackmore was the daughter of Warren Jeffs. And she's coming out with a new series. So I'm sure most people have heard of Rachel Blackmore. And this whole series brought up a lot of questions when I was looking into it, because I'm intrigued by anything that's outside of the norm of society, right? Like most of us viewers and people and thought writers out there are. So anything like cult related, even like alien, conspiracy, all that stuff, I tend to click on that. But so I started looking into this, and what's interesting is the series that she's going to be doing is focusing on the polygamy aspect instead of the cult aspect. It feels super strange to me. So essentially what I'm getting at here is, instead of creating a series, and sorry if there's some feedback, instead of creating a series saying, look, I broke free of a cult. This is why cults are bad. And this is behind the curtain of a cult, which in my opinion should be what the focus is. She's coming at it from the angle of, hey, let me take you behind the curtain of polygamy and tell you why polygamy's bad and cult-like. That's what I got from this read, which is weird.
I feel like it's kind of impossible to talk about how they did polygamy in this cult without talking about the cult. Because I think if it's your personal choice to be a polygamist and you're not in a cult, then I don't see a problem with it, to be honest.
I agree.
If that's your personal choice and everyone there is in agreement and very happy with their decisions, I don't care. It doesn't affect me, as long as there's no inbreeding and everything is, you know what I mean? If you are a responsible adult and can make your own decisions and all of you are in agreement, it's your business, not mine. But the way they did it in this cult, that's what matters, is the cult.
I agree.
At the end of the day.
That's why at least the titling and some of the few details that I looked into felt weird to me, and why I wanted to bring it up. Because if you put polygamy and cult in front of me and you tell me hey, pick which one is worse, right? You gotta put a 1 and a 2 over one of them, and the worst has 1, the next has number 2. It's going to be cult. So then why are we seeing a focus on the polygamy aspects? Because again, anybody watching this, no matter what your feelings are on polygamy, very few percentage of the population out there in the world are polygamists. But I fight for your rights if you are, and I support you and think you should be able to do it, like you said, as long as everybody is a consenting adult in there and happy and free to make their own decisions, to leave at any time they want, to do whatever they want, right? That is your business, and you should have the freedom to be able to do that. Then why is the focus on polygamy?
So I think that maybe possibly, just in my opinion, just from what I know, that maybe her focus is on polygamy because it was forced upon the children. Okay. That's why the cult to me is important, because the cult was forcing everyone to be a polygamist. It wasn't your choice. You had to. You were, there was arranged marriages to men who already had wives, and they were usually older men, and these young, very young teenagers are given to these men, as their second, third, fourth, fifth wives. The more wives that these men had, the more important they were, the more everybody looked up to them. So it's this hierarchy, it's the culture, and I don't know, maybe she's focusing on the relationships and how that all worked from her experience, because maybe that's just what sticks in her head. That aspect of the cult is what sticks and is important to her for whatever reason. Because
Maybe
I think the polygamy was a way of control.
I hear you. I hear everything you're saying, but everything you're talking about is highlighting the cult,
You're
not
right.
the polygamy.
You're right.
Again,
I'm
so
talking
like
about her though, because I agree with you.
right, you're going subjective on this topic, and I'm trying to stay objective on this topic. So I'm taking her out of the equation here. What her story is does not matter. Why are we highlighting the details of polygamy instead of the cult? Because I understand her story, and I think there is a reason here, and I'm just curious why there's so much power around it. And where I'm going with this is so where she was a part of was the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Right. FLDS.
Correct. Yep, absolutely. So is there some kind of control aspect there still where she's trying not to shine a negative light on this church by connecting the two, cult, Church of Latter-day Saints? So let's replace cult with polygamous, because the Church of Latter-day Saints is saying they don't support polygamy, even though they do in their communities.
Oh, maybe.
I totally think that's why.
So she
And
never says it's a cult anywhere?
I don't know. And not in what I'm reading. I have not watched this series. You guys should watch this series. I'm going to watch this series, but it says that it's focusing on polygamous lifestyles and groups that take it to the extreme. Essentially, that's what it says.
Instead of saying the cult.
Instead of saying, hey, I broke free from a cult and a cult leader that I was forced to be in a polygamist relationship with, and this is my story.
Oh, yeah. Then what you're saying is for sure true. I wasn't understanding completely what you were saying.
And all they did was complete and total sexual abuse,
It was.
at all times. An over abuse of control, and didn't let any women have any room to think on their own. It's just disgusting what they were doing. Now, what's interesting is like FLDS is known for having their leaders come in one after another, and trying to figure out these reasons of why, because each leader is like the ultimate leader, you know what I mean? Well, this guy got arrested, who she was forced to be in a relationship with, and is still in prison. But these expectations are still going on in a lot of the FLDS fundamentalists of the Church of Latter-day Saints.
Yeah.
Crazy, right?
It is crazy, but yeah, it's absolutely still going on to this day, and it's awful because, like I said, these young girls are forced to go marry like an elder man.
Yeah.
And
But,
I've heard several accounts of people who have broken free of it, and it's sad. But it sounds like the children don't really understand until they become teenagers, and they feel like they had this like great childhood because they have tons of like moms. Yeah. They have tons of moms, and it's like a really great environment to grow up into until like they want you for other things.
For anybody that's just listening to audio, I just looked through, a hole in my hand, because I'm trying to explain like a representation of, you don't know what's not there until you see it. Just like if you raised a kid and never showed them blue their entire life, they never saw the color blue ever. And then once they hit 20 years old, somebody approaches them and says, hey, tell me about blue. They're going to have no idea. There is no comparison in saying, hey, what makes this color different than this color? They would have no idea. That knowledge just isn't there. So you can raise a kid in the worst situation ever, period, point blank possible. And unless they know what normal is, what natural is, what fair is, what rights are, what humanity is, they have no idea they're being raised in a bad situation.
Yep.
You know what I
It's
mean?
very true. Yeah, they have no idea at all.
But this story is crazy. I'm going to continue doing research on it and checking it out. I'm excited to watch this series, but I really wish that
they called it what it was.
I feel like there's a lot of dancing around the FLDS church and the connection to it being a cult. I see it a lot.
Yeah.
It's because it's still active. It's because there's sects of it that claim they don't follow any of these cult behaviors, but the ones that are still representing that name, and they're still doing cult-like things.
Well, because Warren Jeffs was the scapegoat, basically. Even though he was like the bad guy, okay?
Was Warren Jeffs? Warren Jeffs was the first one.
He was the leader.
Father, right? And the son came at... Okay, so Warren Jeffs is actually dead, not in jail. And his son is the one that's in jail, right? The one that took over after and continued it, but was even like more aggressive.
Maybe. I don't remember exactly, to be honest. I haven't looked in this. I've looked in this before, but it was a long time ago. So, but, you know, they were scapegoats. Like, I feel like, cause I believe his son took over after him. But the thing is that a lot of people still wanted to follow all of that. Once they were no longer head of this cult anymore, a lot of it died. Like this town that they were building, the school, all the things they had going on, a lot of it died. But I think that there were so many people who still wanted to be a part of it that it still continues to exist without them.
Yeah, well, I think they keep getting new leaders.
It's not as big of a scale anymore as it used to be.
Yeah, because it's not as centralized.
Yeah, right.
Yep. But I'm curious what you guys think, and let us know.